Ladies and gentlemen, today we delve into a phenomenon as old as language itself, and perhaps older, the paradoxical nature of silence, especially as it emerges in romantic and interpersonal dynamics. Our topic is when silence speaks love, understanding her mixed signals. Now, it's easy and terribly lazy to reduce silence to mere absence, to say, she's not talking, therefore she doesn't care. But this is precisely the kind of oversimplified thinking that fails to do justice to the profound, multidimensional nature of human psychology. Silence is not the absence of communication, it is its most refined form. When she chooses not to speak, she is not withholding, she is crafting meaning through space rather than sound. That silence might be saying more than any words could carry. You must learn to listen not just with your ears, but with your entire being, because silence has a grammar, a syntax, a logic all its own. When a woman grows quiet in your presence, it's not always a signal of retreat. Sometimes it's the highest expression of comfort. Her way of saying, I don't need to fill the space with noise to be with you. Her silence may be an offering, not an omission. It may reflect a kind of sacred presence, a trust that she doesn't have to perform or explain. Most people rush to fill silence because they are terrified of what it might expose. But the emotionally intelligent person recognizes that silence often reveals more than words ever could. It uncovers the rawness of truth, the depth of tension, the magnitude of care. It is not emptiness, it is precision. It is not avoidance, it is deliberation. To dismiss a woman's silence as coldness is to misunderstand the nature of feminine communication. She may not argue, she may not protest, she may not confess, but she is still speaking. Her silence may be a question. Are you present enough to hear me without sound? Her silence may be a challenge. Can you sit with me when I'm not easy, when I'm not expressive, when I'm just being? It may be a test of your attunement, a mirror of your emotional depth. We live in a culture that has confused volume with meaning. We've come to believe that love must be constant reassurance, constant articulation, constant analysis. But real connection often breathes in the quiet. The loudest truths are sometimes whispered through presence, not shouted through explanation. Her silence could be an act of intimacy, of vulnerability. She's showing you the parts of herself she hasn't yet named, or perhaps can't yet name. Sometimes silence is the only language left when emotion becomes too heavy for syllables to carry. Her silence may hold grief. It may cradle disappointment. It may tremble with love so deep that words would fracture it. To interpret silence as withdrawal is to rush past its complexity. You must ask, what is the texture of this silence? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it tense? Is it waiting? These distinctions are not semantic. They are everything. Emotional maturity is measured by your ability to perceive nonverbal truth. To detect the subtlety in her quiet moments requires discipline. You must pay attention to the tremor in her breath, the pace of her steps, the movement of her hands, the weight in her eyes. Everything matters. Nothing is neutral. If you think only words matter, you are missing most of the story. A woman's silence may be her last defense, the only way she knows to protect the sanctity of what she feels. In those moments, she is not distant, she is on guard. She may not yet know how safe you are, how much of herself she can entrust to you. Don't invade the silence with interrogation. Honor it with steadiness. Be the ground she can stand on while the storm inside her clears. Too many people interrupt silence because they fear what it implies about themselves. They take it personally when it's not personal at all. Sometimes her silence has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it is ancestral. Sometimes it is tied to wounds that were there long before you arrived. If you demand clarity, you might shatter a delicate process that was never meant to be rushed. Love is not found in words alone. It is revealed in how you hold space for what cannot be said. Her silence may be a sacred pause, a moment of integration, a quiet recalibration of the soul. And in that pause, there is wisdom, there is beauty, there is healing waiting to happen if you can resist the urge to label, to fix, to control. Silence forces you to confront your own projections. What you hear in the quiet says more about you than about her. Do you hear rejection or do you hear depth? Do you interpret distance or do you recognize a boundary being drawn with grace? Your interpretation reveals the structure of your own mind. Her silence holds a mirror. Do you dare to look into it? When she is silent, she is not failing to connect. She may be connecting in a language you haven't learned yet. It is not her job to translate every silence into words for your convenience. If you truly value her, you will learn her rhythms. You will study her quiet, the way a musician studies rest notes. The intervals between sound that give the music its shape. To grow as a man, you must develop the patience to dwell in the undefined. You must resist the childish impulse to make everything explicit. Not every truth arrives as a declaration. Some truths descend like mist, slowly, softly, silently, and only the patient heart can receive them. There is a power in restraint. In choosing not to speak, she may be expressing discipline, dignity, discernment. She may be choosing to preserve peace rather than inflame conflict. She may be teaching you that love doesn't always look like expression. It often looks like regulation. She may be walking through a field of inner noise, and what you hear as silence is her choosing not to let that noise spill onto you. A woman in silence may be tending to something sacred inside her. Not all gardens are meant to be opened at your convenience. Some must be left alone to bloom in their own season. If you barge in demanding explanation, you trample what was becoming beautiful in the dark. Trust is not proven in comfort. It is proven in presence. When she is silent, stay. Not because you want her to speak, but because you honor the unspoken. Your steadiness may be the very thing that teaches her. She is safe enough to speak when the time is right. And when that silence breaks, if it ever does, it may carry the weight of everything she's never said. Are you ready to receive that? Or are you still trying to dissect her like a problem to be solved? True love is the willingness to listen to the language that lives beneath language. And that language often is silence. Mixed signals are not contradictions, they are symphonies of emotion, layered across the architecture of experience. What appears as ambiguity is often the purest reflection of human complexity, and to call it confusing is to admit that you have not yet learned to listen deeply. Behind every smile that vanishes too soon, behind every yes that feels laced with hesitation, behind every lingering glance followed by retreat, there is a reason. Is never simple. The emotional language of a woman is not linear. It does not move like a train from point A to point B. It flows like a river, curving, swelling, sometimes retreating underground, but always moving from something real. What you interpret as inconsistency might be the result of conflicting instincts, the desire to open and the need to protect, the longing to connect and the fear of being shattered. Both are true, and both can exist in the same moment. She might laugh and pull away. She might compliment you and then go silent. She might reach out, then recoil. These are not games. These are defenses and invitations woven into one. Every mixed signal is a question cloaked in contradiction. Can you handle my uncertainty without needing to control it? Can you see my fear and still choose to stay? She's not testing you to manipulate you. She's watching to see if her complexity will scare you away. The feminine psyche is not built for linear simplicity. It is built for depth. Depth, by its very nature, resists clarity at first glance. A woman is not a riddle to be solved. She is a story unfolding in real time, and her hesitations are the commas and semicolons of her emotional grammar. You must read her not like a formula, but like poetry. Every so-called mixed signal is a signal filtered through trauma, memory, hope, and the fear of disappointment. Her yes today might be held back by the no she had to scream in the past. Her affection might be guarded because it's been punished before. What you perceive as confusion is often the internal negotiation between what she wants to feel and what life has taught her to fear. To understand a woman's mixed signals is to understand that human emotion is not a light switch. It is a spectrum, a storm, a sky that can be both sunshine and thunder at once. The modern world teaches men to seek clarity, to demand straight answers, to avoid discomfort, but clarity is not a right. It's a reward earned through emotional presence. If you demand simplicity, you miss the miracle of what is actually happening beneath the surface. What if her mixed signals are her way of showing you that she cares too much, that she doesn't yet know how to give herself without losing herself, that she's trying to measure if you are the kind of man who will honor her vulnerability or exploit it? To dismiss her as confusing is to walk away from the challenge of becoming someone worthy of her trust. The truth is that emotional honesty is terrifying, even for the bravest among us. And so she sends out fragments, half-truths, glimpses, flickers of what she feels and watches to see how you react. She's not being deceptive, she's being cautious. And in a world where honesty is often being met with punishment, her caution is wisdom. If you are confused, good. Confusion is the birthplace of growth. Let it humble you. Let it force you to slow down, to stop assuming, to start asking. Let it push you to stop reacting and begin observing. She is not hiding from you. She is slowly revealing herself in a language you were never taught to read. Masculine logic often seeks closure, resolution, decisiveness, but the feminine heart moves in cycles. She feels and refeels. She thinks and reconsiders. Her emotions are not inconsistent. They are evolving. She can want you and fear you at the same time. She can trust you and doubt you in the same breath. And both are valid, both are real, both must be held without judgment. You are not entitled to her clarity until you've proven you can hold her chaos with tenderness. Until she knows that you won't weaponize her honesty. Until she sees that your strength is not in domination but in containment. The greatest form of power you can offer a woman is not control, it's safety, emotional safety, psychological safety. The kind of presence that says, you can unravel here and I won't punish you for it. Mixed signals are not dysfunction. They are the language of someone in process. Someone excavating buried truths. Someone who wants to trust but doesn't yet know if it's safe. Every time she pulls away after drawing close, she's asking, can you stay steady even? When I waver, every flicker of warmth followed by cold is not a rejection. It is a rehearsal for trust. You are being shown not just who she is, but what she needs. To understand her signals, you must become still enough to observe what is beyond the words. Look at the rhythm of her connection. Notice what changes when certain subjects arise. Pay attention to what she doesn't say when she clearly feels something. Her silence is a sentence. Her gaze is a paragraph. Her retreat is a chapter, begging to be read, not erased. When you face her contradictions, don't accuse, investigate. Ask better questions. Lead with curiosity, not control. Say, I noticed you pulled back. Was something overwhelming you? Instead of, why are you acting like this? One invites her story, the other shuts her down. The reason so many relationships fail is not because people lie, but because they are punished for revealing their truths too early. A woman will never be fully clear until she feels fully safe. And she will never feel fully safe with someone who requires her to make sense all the time. Emotional truth is not always logical. It is often raw, messy, divine. What looks like contradiction may be her integrating different parts of herself, her strength and softness, her independence and her desire to belong, her power and her pain. She's not being inconsistent, she's becoming whole. Your role is not to decode her like a malfunction. Your role is to witness her like a miracle. To sit in the tension of her ambiguity and choose to love her anyway. To realize that her uncertainty is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It is the echo of a life that has taught her to be careful. If you can hold her through her contradiction, you become the one constant she doesn't have to question. You become the still point in her swirling storm. The man who stays when she pushes, the man who listens when she hides, the man who sees through the noise and finds the truth buried beneath it. She is not a puzzle. She is not a test. She is a human being layered with emotion, story, instinct, and soul. And if you can love her at her most unclear, you give her the courage to become clear, not for your comfort, but for her freedom. Responsibility in interpreting another's silence is the cornerstone of mature relationships. It demands an unwavering commitment to self-awareness and emotional growth. To assume that someone else must clarify their every feeling for your ease is a form of emotional immaturity that blocks genuine connection. It is your task to sharpen the instruments of your perception, to cultivate patience, and to hold space for complexity without demanding immediate resolution. When silence speaks love, it often requires you to step into a realm of uncertainty, and that is where true courage is born. The moment you encounter ambiguity, you face a choice: to retreat into frustration or to advance into understanding. To respond with impatience is to sacrifice the opportunity for deep intimacy. You must embrace the discomfort of not knowing fully, not because uncertainty is comfortable, but because it is honest. Emotional clarity is not a given, it is a gift that can only be earned through your willingness to bear the weight of ambiguity with grace. Expecting another to simplify their feelings for your convenience is to deny them the right to their own complexity. You are not entitled to a neat narrative that fits your desire for control. Instead, you must engage with their reality on its own terms, however complicated or challenging it may be. This means recognizing that their silence may be a form of communication far richer than words. It may be a protective boundary, a sign of trust, or a moment of processing something too profound for immediate expression. Your responsibility is to cultivate emotional intelligence, which is not merely understanding words, but interpreting moods, gestures, pauses, and silences. This skill requires humility. It asks you to listen without jumping to conclusions or imposing your fears onto another's silence. What you perceive is filtered through your own experiences and insecurities. Only by refining your inner awareness can you begin to distinguish between what belongs to her and what belongs to you. Interpretation is not a passive act. It is an active engagement with empathy. It demands that you ask better questions, not to interrogate, but to invite clarity. It asks you to lean into silence with curiosity rather than judgment. You must learn to say, "I don't understand yet, but I want to," instead of demanding immediate answers. This creates a container where love can be expressed in ways beyond words, where silence is respected rather than feared. Taking responsibility means resisting the urge to control or fix another's emotions. It means accepting that some feelings will remain opaque for a time, perhaps indefinitely. Love is not ownership, it is presence. Being present with someone's silence without trying to fill it or escape from it is a profound act of respect. It says, "I value you enough to sit with your silence and hold you without conditions." This responsibility also extends to your own emotional responses. You must recognize when your discomfort with silence is a reflection of your own fears: fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of vulnerability. To grow in this area, you must examine your assumptions and confront your anxiety. When you feel panic rising in response to her silence, ask yourself what story you are telling yourself. Are you assuming the worst, or are you open to multiple possibilities? True strength lies in tolerating uncertainty while maintaining your center. The man who can endure the unknown without losing himself is the one who earns the right to navigate the labyrinth of another's heart. Your stability becomes a refuge in which she can lower her defenses and begin to reveal the parts of herself she once hid. This is not passive waiting, but active holding, the courage to be steady amid emotional storms. Taking responsibility for interpretation means understanding that love requires ongoing work. It's not a one-time achievement, but a continuous practice of listening deeply, observing carefully, and responding thoughtfully. You must be willing to revise your understanding as new signals emerge. What you believed yesterday may shift tomorrow, and you must be flexible enough to follow the evolving truth without judgment. Your role is to become a translator of silence, not a judge. To do this, you must cultivate a language of love that honors nuance and ambiguity. This language speaks through presence, through quiet attentiveness, through the willingness to bear witness to what cannot yet be articulated. It values connection over clarity, relationship over resolution. When you accept this responsibility, you free her from the pressure to constantly explain herself. You allow her the space to process internally, to come forward when she is ready. This freedom is a gift that builds trust and deepens intimacy. It transforms silence from a source of anxiety into a wellspring of meaning. You must also recognize that silence sometimes carries its own form of honesty, more truthful than any spoken word. When she chooses not to speak, she may be protecting her authentic self from misunderstanding or hurt. Your respect for that silence acknowledges her autonomy and honors her inner world. The capacity to hold space for silence without judgment distinguishes those who seek control from those who seek connection. Control demands answers. Connection embraces questions. It is your responsibility to embody connection. You must learn to dance with ambiguity rather than resist it, to befriend it rather than fear it. This process requires courage because it strips away the illusion of certainty. It asks you to be comfortable with the unknown, to trust in the process of unfolding rather than the comfort of conclusion. When you do this, you become an active participant in a sacred dance, one where love is not declared but discovered, not forced but allowed. When silence speaks love, it asks for your presence, your patience, and your respect. It challenges you to move beyond the surface and enter a deeper dimension of relationship. It compels you to take responsibility for your role in the communication, not just as a receiver, but as a co-creator of meaning. In taking this responsibility seriously, you grow into a man capable of holding paradox without breaking, capable of offering safety without possession, capable of loving without demands. This is the essence of emotional maturity, the ability to listen not only to words, but to the silences between them, and to respond with understanding, compassion, and steadfastness. You become someone who does not merely react to signals, but anticipates the needs behind them. You learn to read the subtle shifts in energy, the flickers of emotion that precede speech or follow it into silence. This attentiveness transforms your relationships, elevates your love, and deepens your connection to another human being. Taking responsibility means recognizing that love is an active verb, a constant choice to engage fully with another's complexity. It means resisting the urge to simplify, to categorize, or to escape discomfort. Instead, it requires you to lean in, to stay present, and to honor the full spectrum of human experience, including silence. You cannot outsource your emotional growth to her words or actions. It is your journey to develop the inner strength to hold space for her, even when she cannot hold space for herself. This is not about control. It is about commitment. Commitment to listen, to wait, to understand beyond what is easy or convenient. In embracing this responsibility, you embody the highest form of respect, the respect that sees her as a whole person, not just as an emotional puzzle to be solved. You offer her the dignity of being heard, even when words fail. You become a guardian of the silence where love often resides. This is no small task. It requires courage, humility, and discipline. But the rewards are profound. When you take responsibility for interpreting her silence, you create a foundation of trust that allows love to flourish in its most authentic and enduring form.